Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to play against Martin's family, which consists of 5 bots, and from start to the end the difficulty level simply increases. So I believe it's going to be very much fun for me to challenge these bots, and I believe you guys can also learn from it, and it's going to be very much fun. So yeah, let's begin. So starting from the Martin, who is the main guy for the beginners to play against beginner players. So he's having the elo of 260. So I'm going to start with a 1 eco, simply controlling the center. And now Martin is trying to play the Sill in defense. I doubt that Martin knows how to play this opening. So I'll just play the move knight to f3, simply developing my knight. And now Martin plays the e6, the French variation. Okay, now I'm not going to play the move d4. I'm going to play the move c3 with the idea of playing d4 in the center. Martin played the move knight to f6, attacking the pawn. Okay, so one way is to simply push the pawn, but I'm going to play the move queen to c2, defending this pawn with the queen. And here we go, Martin doing his Martin things. I can capture this knight, and I'm already a piece up. Okay, now let me strike in the center, controlling the center. Martin is giving a check, let me cover it up. Knight to c6, and now let me simply castle up, rook u1, and I can simply attack the queen, and that looks like a good idea. And yeah, as usual, Martin is going to hang up his queen. So yeah, I can capture the queen. Let me capture the queen. I can also capture this pawn. Okay, let me capture this pawn. Let's capture all the material, and it's going to be eventually winning. Let me get the bishop out, attacking the rook. Let me get this knight out with the idea of rook u1. And yeah, so kind of getting all his pieces in the back. So it's going to make our work even easier. I can simply play bishop e5 because I believe he's eventually going to hang the mate. But okay, let me play bishop d6. Pawn push and just queen e4, I guess, and that's it. I can capture this guy. And yeah, just queen e5, and that's it, I believe. You push the pawn, and okay, I can first of all capture the bishop. That's superbly winning, and I can also capture the rook. I guess capturing the rook makes sense because the bishop is eventually going to hang, and here we go, a mate in one. So yeah, it took me 21 moves to beat Martin, who is the main guy in the family. So now let me play the new bot. Okay, so playing against the new bot, so I'm going to play in the Martin Jr. So basically Martin Jr. is one of the 20 strongest players in his family. Will you be his first chess friend? This is the introduction of this guy, Martin Jr., who's having the elo of 500. Okay, now let me play the one move d4, the queen's pawn opening. And here we go, the knight to f6, c4, g6. So we have the King's Indian defense, which is considered one of the most aggressive opening to play with the black pieces. And yeah, bishop g7. Okay, let me play e4, controlling of the center. d6. So definitely Martin Jr. definitely knows how to play the opening, and I'm pretty happy with it. f3, short castle, and let me play the move bishop e3, the Semish variation. Knight to h5. So okay, knight h5. The idea is to play the move f5 maybe, but I believe I can go g4, attacking this knight, which is going to help me eventually to build up an attack on the king side. The knight goes back, and now first I'll get the queen in with the idea of long castling, and with the idea of simply throwing h4, h5, and white is already having a very nice position. Okay, so let me play h4, simply going in for the attack. a5. So definitely Martin Jr. is much more capable than 500 elo. If he starts to play some serious tournaments, definitely his rating is eventually going to boost up. But jokes apart, he's a bot. Okay, so we have h5, now king f8, finally making some dubious move. I can capture this pawn, which is a good move. Takes, and now bishop h6 is one way to play. I'll get the bishop in, and yeah, I can take this. I can give a check, and like one way is to simply play e5, which is superbly winning, I believe. g5 can also be played, I believe, because after knight h5, rook h5 takes pawn push. But I guess simply e5 is winning up. e5 is simply winning. It attacks the knight with the idea of queen h7. And finally I can take this. and that's winning. Threatening mate on g7, maybe queen d7. Yeah, I can first capture the pawn, give a check. The king goes back, and now there are already multiple ways to win this position. I believe Martin Jr. wants to play rook g8, and he is going to play that move. That's my guess. So I'm going to get my bishop out, simply attacking the h7 guy. And here we go, rook e7. So I actually want to make the things even more interesting. I don't want to capture the rook. I want to make things more interesting by keeping the rooks. But okay, let me capture this guy, and that's going to be eventually 1 or 2 move mate. Takes, and now I can simply take over here. And now it's kind of an unstoppable mate. Okay, I spoke too soon. Rook h7, and now it's a mate. Okay, so Martin Jr. also played a very good game. It took me 22 moves to beat Martin Jr. So coming to the next bot, who is Marty. Martin has never won a game against his dog. Marty, can you? Okay, so Marty is having the rating of 1350. And okay, so how should I begin? Okay, so I beat Martin with e4. I beat Martin Jr. with d4. Shall I beat Marty with c4? That makes sense. Let's go c4. e5. Okay, let me develop my knight to c3, the English opening we have on the board. Bishop goes to b4. So one way is to play the move knight d5, but I'm going to play some serious chess with the move g3, simply developing the bishop on g2. And b5, is there some sort of a sideline or something? Because I'm not sure if b5 is a fine move. Okay, so Marty is saying to me, is it okay if I call you Martin? That's the only name I know. Yeah, for sure, he can call me that. Bishop to g2, but I'm not going to play again like Martin. I'm definitely going to play better. Okay, pawn push. First I can capture this pawn, simply capturing the rook, attacking the rook, c6. So yeah, we can call it like Marty's playing like a dog for sure. So okay, let me first capture the pawn on b5. d5. Definitely it's going to be a bit embarrassing if I'm going to lose against a dog. Yeah. So bishop cross c3. So first I can capture with the d pawn as well, but I'm going to capture with the b pawn. And now, yeah, I was expecting cb5, but okay, now let me capture the c6 pawn, and I'm already 2 pawns up. I can capture this pawn as well. Okay, let me capture this pawn. Yeah, let me be pawn grabber and capture pawns. Bishop goes back, and we are okay now. Like the dog knows how to castle up. Pretty happy. Knight to f3, and let me simply castle up. Okay. Okay, so Marty is saying to dogs, castling is the equivalent of pretending to throw a tennis ball, then hiding it behind your back. Okay, that makes sense. Bishop to a3. With the idea of rook b1, simply getting the rook in, that makes sense. Let me play rook b1. And yeah, one idea is to simply get this knight in. Because if knight takes, I can simply capture the rook, that makes sense. Shall I go for it? Okay, let's go for it, yeah. Okay, so Marty sacrificed the rook for the knight. Takes bishop f5. So first I can simply push the pawn, but I guess even better is simply rook c1, simply pinning up this knight, and the game is literally over. The knight is okay. The knight jumped, but I can push this pawn with this guy. I can even push this pawn, which is also equivalently winning. It attacks the knight. Okay, so now I can simply capture with the f pawn as well, which is going to spice things up a bit, but I'm going to capture with the h pawn, keeping everything pretty safe. Rook e8, and I guess bishop c6 is one way to play. I'll go for bishop c6, attacking this queen, and now I can play bishop to e4, but I'll first play bishop g2, simply safeguarding my own king, attacking the queen. And now I can play e4, which looks a very strong move, attacking the bishop move. And now I'll first play the move queen b3. Let me move my queen. Okay, so black captured the pawn. So yeah, how shall I continue the game? Queen c3 is one of the option. I'd like to get the rook into the game via rook c4. That makes sense. Attacking the queen, and I can simply trade off the queen. And now there are already multiple ways to win. I'll go for playing up the move bishop to c5. That looks a fine move. With the idea of rook d4 maybe. Just trading off the rooks. And that's good enough for me to win. I can push the pawn, simply putting the pawn on the dark square. And and now it's over. Now it's game over for sure. I'm going to show him the power of the bishops. Okay, that's a double check, giving the third check, getting the rook in, and yeah, I can simply grab some pawns now and simply push these pawns, which is eventually winning up. Okay, so is there any quick way to mate Marty? Maybe I can just mate him, yeah? Just mate him like this, which makes sense. Okay, let me capture the bishop. And without wasting any further time, I'll just push the pawns and just make the queen, and that's it. Okay, so I basically beat Marty. It took me 46 moves. Definitely, the dog played better than Martin and Martin Jr., which was pretty interesting to play. But I'm having fun for now, but I know it's going to be very much harder. So now I'm going to play Martin 813. So basically, Martin's 13th child is the strongest baby you'll ever play chess against. Ready for a challenge? For sure, let's do it. Okay, so 1800 rating, which is for sure. I'm already having a feeling many of the you guys are watching are already having less rating compared to the Martin 13's baby. I doubt how come Martin is having so many babies, but that's fine. Okay, we have this, and now let's play knight to f3. The queen's gambit, and now we have the queen's Indian opening. Okay, let me play a3, which is the main move, covering the b4 square. Let me get this knight out, and now d5 is the main move, which was played by Martin 13th. Bishop to g5, knight to c6, which is not the best way to play. I'll first capture the pawn on d5, maybe takes, and now you see the bishop is bad on b7 because it is staring at its own pawn. I can maybe capture this knight over here because after queen takes, I'm having knight d5. The queen goes back maybe somewhere, and I can pull my knight back. Yeah, which is definitely one way to play. You have to capture with the pawn. Shall I go for it? That looks very interesting to me. I can also play the move e3, which maybe he can play bishop e7, bishop over here, castle up, and things are not really that interesting. So I'll go for simply bishop cross f6, g cross f6, and definitely you can see black is definitely having a bad pawn structure. So now I can simply push the pawn to e3 or even g3 and just put the pressure on this. But I will go for playing e3, putting my bishop on d3 and trying to put some pressure over here whenever the black king goes for doing a short castle. So I'll first get the rook in, putting some pressure over here. That makes sense. Rook to g8, not castling up, putting pressure on the pawn on g2, which is going to make the game even more interesting for sure. Rook g8, attacking the pawn on g2. So yeah, how can I play? I can play knight to h4, allowing him to capture over here, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe queen f3 or something, kicking this rook back, and I can jump over with my pieces, which is definitely going to make the game interesting. Shall I go for it? That looks interesting for sure. I can also play the move g3 because the bishop is still a bad piece, so I don't really care even if my white squares get weakened a bit. Shall I go for g3? That looks interesting for sure. Okay, let's go g3. Yeah, let's try to keep the pawns on the board. And now we have queen d7, maybe thinking for doing a long castle. That makes sense, a lot of sense. Let me play knight to h4 with the idea of bishop f5, which looks already a very interesting move. And can you believe it, Martin 13 has already missed this idea, and I'm going to win the queen now. I'm going to win the queen. I can capture it, or I can actually leave it as it is because the queen is already trapped up. So okay, so first what I'll do in this position here is I'll castle up. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll castle up. That's fine. Okay, I'll take with the h pawn first. Okay, oh wow. So basically Martin 13 is like a complete baby now, going completely wild, knowing that I'm not going to capture this. I'm kind of irritating the baby. So the baby is getting irritated and he's trying to sacrifice all his pieces into the air. Yeah, so the baby is saying like, you wouldn't beat a baby, would you? I'm gonna throw tantrum. Okay, so c5. So okay, so how shall I continue the game? Okay, let's go even more crazy. Queen f6. He can't capture the queen, and that's even more interesting. Okay, finally, shall I capture the queen? Nah, I'm not going to capture the queen. I'm going to keep the queens on the board. Okay, now I can start to give some serious checks, but first I'll capture the queen finally and give a check. And now I can go for a double, okay, single check. I can capture the bishop. I can capture the rook, which is a fine move, but first I'll give a check and capture the rook, and that's it. So yeah, it took me 25 moves to beat a baby. Yeah, I simply beat the baby, so I'm pretty happy. So yeah, so finally coming to the last bot, Martina. So basically Martina is Martin's better half. Basically she is Martin's wife and his much better half. Some say she's unbeatable. Definitely it's going to be tough. Let's begin. So yeah, I'll start with the 1d4 and let's see how the game goes on. Knight f6 c4. I'm going to try to play my best chess possible. e6, knight to f3, getting the knight out. And now we have d5, knight to c3. They're playing the. Okay, now we have c6. A good opening I would say. c6. So now there are definitely many ways to play. I'll go for playing the move bishop to g5. Knight d7 is one of the ways to play. Bishop e7. Okay, let me play e3. Short castle can be played, but he played the move knight to d7, which is also a fine move. So I can play rook c1, which is a fine move for sure. Queen c2 can also be played. I'll go for playing the move rook c1. Castle up. And now I can go for playing h3 or even a3, which, like, there are options. Okay, let me play bishop d3 here. Simply developing my bishop. The bishop pawn can go for capturing the pawn, which is another way to play. I can even push the pawn in this position, but then black will definitely go for pushing up the pawn. So first I'll castle up, allowing the pawn to capture it and allowing black to push the pawn. b5, h6. Okay, that makes sense. So one way is to capture the knight, but I'm going to pull back the bishop as well. And yeah, and now we have c5. So black is okay. So my original idea was, if black would have played bishop b7, maybe I could have took over here and then play knight e4, not allowing black to push, but black pushed it instantly, which was not really my idea and not on my radar as well. So now I need to think. I need to seriously think now. Let's think. If I capture the pawn on c5, black is having options. Black can take with the knight as well. That makes sense. Black wants to play c4 for sure. That's the idea. Can I play knight to e4? Okay, capturing is a fine move. Knight cross c5, bishop b1, and eventually bishop b7. And I believe overall black looks pretty happy. Maybe with knight e4 something. But yeah, another way I can play knight e4 maybe. If black tries to push, I can takes. I don't really like that idea, so I'll actually go for taking this pawn. Knight cross c5, and now bishop b1, I believe, kind of the only way. Maybe, yeah. Or yeah, just bishop b1, maybe. That makes sense. Maybe. Okay, bishop to b7, and now I believe. Can I go for capturing on f6? Bishop f6, knight to b5. ab5, I can capture this knight on c5. That makes sense. That makes a small bit of sense. And now let's think. Now bishop cross f6. Bishop cross f6. Knight cross b5. Maybe bishop cross b2. I can take on c5. Takes. I can't really take on. Maybe I can, but I won't. But in that particular end game, black is having the bishop pair and I'm not, as I'm not really happy. So otherwise I believe black is already having space on the queen side. His pieces are nicely developed, so not pretty happy. So I'll actually go for bishop f6 rather having a bad position. Knight b5. So first taking over here. Can I capture with the rook? That makes sense to me. Oh, I'll take with the rook. He took and I can take over here. That's right? That looks like a good idea to me. And now can I take on b5, attacking the bishop and the bishop? That looks like a good move to me, at least to me. And this guy can take over here, and now I can take over here, being a pawn up, because if I take this bishop, then it's going to be opposite color bishop, which is eventually going to increase the chances of a draw. But if I take this bishop, I'm losing the rook actually, so I have to take this, kicking this bishop away. Okay, so we have bishop to c3, and now I can play rook to b3, which looks like a good move, attacking the bishop. Maybe rook c1, that makes sense. But majorly I want to use this pawn, but I guess I have to play this move first, or else I don't really see an opening to continue the game further. Maybe I can simply play the, like I can simply get the rook in. That also makes a lot of sense, with the idea of getting another rook on the 7th rank and exerting more pressure to the opponent. Maybe rook c7. Yeah, that looks like a good idea, for sure. But nah, I guess if I take, that won't be that of a good idea. But I'll actually go for rook b7, allowing the opponent to take. g5, expanding on the king side, which looks like a good idea for sure. And maybe it would be a good idea if I try to expand on try to activate my king with king g2. Bishop goes over here, and now let's see how can I play, how can I continue the position. One way is to play push, but that doesn't look like a fancy move. I'll rather get the rook over here. You see, like this. And now maybe rook over here, with the idea of pushing up this pawn, bishop over here. So black is going for the bishop trade, which is the idea that I personally missed. I can go for rook over here, allowing him to take, and that's eventually a draw. I can go for taking this, I can go for taking this pawn, but that's a draw for sure. Yeah, that's a draw. That would be a draw, right? I can push, but no, I don't think that's maybe I can actually go for it. Let's think. I can push. He can get the king over here, maybe king over here. And yeah, I don't see a breakthrough. Maybe the best idea would be to, but that's also a draw. Even if I just try to keep the rooks on the board, that's also a draw, right? Because of the rook is 1, I can get the rook a5, but I can at least try over there, or else I can't really give it a go. So maybe rook over here, that makes sense. Rook e4. Oh, wow, I simply missed this idea. Oh, okay, I missed bishop into h2, and now it's a draw for sure. Okay, so there is nothing much to do after bishop h2, because now it's kind of a draw. Though I can start by playing something like bishop c2. If I take on h2, that's a draw. That's a dead draw. I can try to fight with bishop c2. I'll give it a go with bishop c2. Rook b3, okay. I'll go bishop b3. kind of locking this bishop, this rook in. And now definitely black's idea maybe to get the bishop over here. That makes sense. I can, okay, that's a draw to be draw. Okay, let me play rook c4, king f6, and I don't know, like, it's a draw. It's a draw. I'll go for a draw actually, yeah, because there is nothing much to do. I'll accept a draw. Can I offer a draw? I guess I can't. So I need to play the game till the end. Okay, I'll just push the pawn, I guess. Just trying to push the pawn, get the bishop in. Yeah, that's eventually a draw, but that's fine, we can play. Maybe just putting the bishop to the very end, not allowing the pawn to get pushed. And I'll just maybe getting the king can be an idea. Maybe getting the king. Okay, so maybe black is fine with a draw. Nah. So bot does want to fight. Okay, I'll play king f1. Let's see if we have a draw or not. Maybe we have a draw. We have a draw, right? No, we do not. So I guess after king c5 it was a draw by repetition. But okay, the bot wants to play on, so yeah. That's fine by me. I'll play bishop over here, attacking these pawns. Pull the bishop back. Yeah. I'll pull back the king, and that's eventually a draw, but okay. If the bot wants to keep playing, that's fine by me. Okay, finally he pushed the pawn. Yeah, I should have kept the bishop like this, but that's fine. That's still draw. Yeah, maybe push, and now maybe I can push this pawn, which is one way to play. But I don't really want to put the pawns on the... Okay, I'll get the king. Pull the king back. Maybe push. No. I can... Okay, if I play king f1, he can push, maybe. So I need to play carefully now, or I might actually lose this one, which would be super, which would be like literally crazy, yeah? Losing a drawish endgame. Bishop b5, king over here. Let me pull the bishop back. Yeah, he can push, huh? He did not push. Takes. I don't know why. I'll pull back the bishop. You pull back the king. Come on, yeah. Can't we accept a draw and finish off this game? King h3. King goes back. Bishop to d3. Okay, now I can't go for this, right? Yeah, I can't. I can push maybe. Can I? Like takes. No, that's not working. Push. Yep, that's not working. So I'll play this bishop to b1. Bishop over here. Maybe bishop over here. Bishop back over here. And that's a draw. That's what I believe. Bishop d3. Okay, the engines really don't want to draw. They want to keep fighting on. And here we go. Takes. And now I believe now this is finally a draw. Push. I can take, and that's a draw game now. Yeah, I can just play the bishop I can just keep playing the bishop. I can just even play the bishop. I can just pre-move, yeah. I can literally pre-move the bishop and that's a draw. Yeah, we have a draw. So yeah, draw. You are quite the sparring partner. Yeah, it took me 91 moves to draw this game, which is insane. Let's try to do some basic analysis. The engine is currently off, though yeah. I believe it was a fine game. Takes, bishop b1, takes, takes. I believe after knight b5, black could have went for this, like bishop b2, because after rook c5 he can take. I can't really take because of bishop a6 maybe. No, I can actually, yeah, I can go because after bishop f1 I can really capture the bishop. So yeah, overall the game was quite good. It was a drawish game, and I believe over here a better move would have been to trade off the rooks maybe, though it's still a draw. But yeah, it was fun to play with all, like with the complete Martin family, and I've enjoyed it a lot personally. Yeah, so the score 4.5 was out of 5, and it was very good experience. Yeah, so yeah, what I want from you guys now is, like, I want all of you guys watching the video to play against all these 5 bots and let me know in the comments what are your score against all, like out of 5, like which bots you have beaten up and which bots you have lost against. It's going to be a very fun challenge and interesting to see. So I hope that this video was fun, and yeah, I'm going to come up with these more interesting questions, like interesting videos. If you have any questions, make sure to tell me in the comments below, and I'm definitely going to reply to it. And it was very fun to make this video. So I'm going to see you soon. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.